Shit. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of Going Pro, powered by Dog Pound Athletics. Look who's back. Juan.
Oh, with the fucking hard J. What's
Juan.
up, daddy? Hey, what episode are you on now?
I'm not counting, but we're 15. Just saying.
You're not counting, but you're at 15.
Well, because I posted the other one the other day and I looked. So then I was like, okay.
Have you looked at the metrics?
I have not.
Maybe don't look for another 5.
Okay.
You know, you only got to make it past 20 episodes to be the top 1% of podcasters. Most podcasters don't make it past 20.
I will say, I am a 1%er, so wouldn't shock me if I made it to 20 and I was a 1%er.
This
Because
guy.
it's just my aura. Do you know about the aura thing now? That's like the new word, like aura.
You mean this is Sarah and I's world, but what?
Like that's like the Gen Z kids would be like, "Oh, dude, like that's bad aura. You got negative aura.
Oh, yeah.
That's 50 plus aura.
Oh.
You're giving like purple aura right now." I'm like, "What are you talking about?
Is purple bad?
Purple's good.
Yeah, purple's good.
Purple's good. Crimson red is good. I guess it has to be crimson.
That has to be high energy.
And then
Yellow, you're like
yellow's
mid.
bad.
Mid. Orange, nasty.
Blue's bad.
Blue's like you feeling blue, like you giving bad, like you giving sad vibes.
Black is bad.
It's heavy. It's negative.
Negative.
It's probably negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably use that energy and aura in our leadership world, like kind of trying to feel people out.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they are catching up on the feel with the whole vibes or giving.
Yeah.
They're very in touch with that.
Yeah.
What I'm just seeing, and this is a side tangent, is right now they're lacking technical ability of how to apply that knowledge into the world. They think it's only spiritual or vibe, and they can't match both.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
But hopefully they can. Hopefully we can give them skills.
Hopefully.
That's a generalization. I don't know, but I'm glad they're thinking about it.
I think they just heard someone talk about it and then they just give numbers. Oh, plus 50 aura, negative 5 aura. And you're like, so you don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying random stuff.
Oh,
You just like
I'll
get it
check
live.
in with Lucas to see what he says.
He probably knows what aura is. Like, oh, dad, you give purple aura, bro.
We started going, bro, you blowing smoke?
Blown. I don't know. That.
Like he farted. I'm like, bro, you blowing smoke over there? Or we at the store. Hey, I blew some smoke. We gotta walk. We gotta get out of here before somewhere else comes, bro. He's hilarious. He can text now. Yesterday, this fool goes, Dad. Yeah. So I'm thinking about skipping jujitsu today. I think we maybe move our workout to the park. We can maybe run some hills or something. And I was like,
No way.
okay.
You're like, okay.
I can fuck with that.
All right.
I can fuck with that. So I made him run this sand hill at the beach, and this fool fell asleep in Floor's class today. Took a nap at Audi.
I was about to say he's
Out.
hard.
Benny too. Out.
The beach is hard, bro.
And then I told him, you ain't allowed to skip on Friday, fool. Tell me right now via text, Dad, I will not skip jiu-jitsu on Friday. He wrote it out. Okay. Otherwise, I kill you.
You're a very scary man, so.
He's like, oh, fine. Anyways. So, I heard the word on the street, we're going to talk about success. I would like to add on to failure because I recently failed at something.
Oh.
And I don't know how you interpret failure or no. I'm also in this weird spot in my life, but let's just talk about the being rejected or a no. My default is to think about I failed
Yeah. I agree with that.
because I will not allow the other person to take ownership or power over me. Either I messed up, I'm not technically good, or I didn't play the game of chess well, meaning that I didn't interpret or communicate or was not effective in translating my skill set to what needs to be done, or to the point of aura, I didn't regulate my aura to what it needed to be in order for me to get a yes.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, I think that's also like the leader in you. Of like leaders always like take accountability for that instead of like people like put the blame on it. Like, oh well, I didn't get this job or I didn't play well because of that or that, and like they start finger pointing instead of like, no, like I failed because I did something wrong, like internally, and then like that's how you look at it, kind of, right?
Yeah. And I think I need to be clear to communicate that I don't judge myself on it. Like I don't make myself feel less.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, I missed it. There's something that I do not have yet that I need to grow or get better at or find out that is missing,
Mhm.
and I'm not allowed to. And I generally don't anyway. I just try to figure out the information, the data is telling me it's a no.
Yeah,
And so what is that data that I need in order to fix it?
yeah. It's like the you win or you learn. Like you never fail. Like when you
Mm-mm.
fail at something, like don't take it as a negative. You take it as a okay, like why did I fail? And then you go through your head like, okay, like what are the things I need to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that I don't fail again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's kind of how I look at it.
The other one is on the emotional side. So there is uh, I think a small emotional loop inside of it, either being pissed or being sad or
Mm,
whatever it is. And I let myself be in it and just like let myself feel it so it can
yeah.
fire me up in order
Mm,
to figure out the systems and processes that I need to
yeah.
in order because that it's that same fuel that's going to dictate the discipline that I need to move forward.
Yeah. How do you think is that something you're like you can learn or is that something you're just like born with? Because I think there's some people that fail and they're like, oh, poor me. And then like they feel sad about it and then like they sulk in it instead of like letting it fuel. Like if me and you fail at something, we're gonna like again live in that moment. You're like, okay, like I'm gonna go get it now.
Yeah,
But
I
like,
think I'm biased to us and athletes playing sports.
mm,
So you get a lot of no's, so you get comfortable with, okay, I lost, but what do I need to do in order to get better?
yeah,
So that might be a thing. I think if your best bet in order to learn it is you need a coach or a mentor or a parent that understands the context of what happened and understands how you operate so they can walk you through it.
yeah,
Um, because I think to what you said, I think where people get stuck is in that phase, and then they don't know what to do after. And like,
mm,
if you're talking about stages, I think the first stage is an emotional internal one.
yeah,
Have it. That has to end at some point because that's no longer going to help you. It's also not a personal attack to
yeah,
you, so that like, don't take it personal, don't take assumptions. And why would you put that expectations on the other person? And what are the things that you can actually control? You can only control one, your own feelings and what you can do moving here. You can't control the other. You're going to convince the other person. You're like, I want you to be in a relationship with me. That's not going to work out. Like, it's still not going to work out.
yeah,
Like, you have to operate to well, I think we should be so swaggy that we got to operate at a level where people want you
mm,
and fuck everything.
yeah,
And
mm,
then you're nice.
mm,
But to your question, the answer question is, I think it's really hard to do it on your own because it takes a lot of maturing and identifying it. Having a good coach or a good parent or mentor will help you the most
yeah,
be able to do that so that you just never lose.
yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that. Like, I have a an uncle who's like not really my uncle, but like I just call him uncle. He's like my dad's really good friend, and he would mentor me like when I was younger in baseball. My dad was always like the hard ass, like always like harping on me and my failures or whatever, and he'd be like pick me back up, like hey, like but this is how like you deal with your failures, and like don't look at it as a failure, but look at it as like a learning experience. Like he's one like really helped me through that process of understanding like how to like not just sulk in that moment, but like fire me up.
Hmm.
So I think that is correct. Like I do agree with you that it's like you need some kind of person in your life, a mentor, someone you look up to that can walk you through how to deal with that emotional part of it to start
Hmm.
because it's hard. No, I mean I was getting roasted by my mom when I was younger, bro. Oh my god.
It's hard because it's not helpful.
Yeah, no, and
So I'm like, give me some skills.
it's like,
Like, you suck. Yeah, I already know that part.
bro, that's the worst.
I know
They're
that
like,
part.
bro, like I can't believe you did that. Da, da, da. And like I'm thinking in my head, like I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, dude. Do you think I want to get yelled at right now? Of course I don't want to get yelled at right now. But like, are you gonna help me with like what I have to do next? Not just yell at me and tell me that I'm fucking terrible, you know?
Yeah.
And my dad finally learned as I got older, but when I was younger, oh I got it. Oh, I got it
Yeah.
bad, bro.
Well, I think it has to be like, at least on a masculine or this, our personalities, like, hey, you suck, but literally tonight we have to go
Mm.
train because you suck.
Yeah, yeah,
That's helpful. And you're
yeah,
like, okay, yeah, I understand that part.
yeah,
Just don't fucking berate me with things that I already
Mm,
know and then have
yeah,
no forward progress.
yeah. My dad was more of the physical attribute of like, okay, if you suck, like we're going to the cages tonight, or like, hey, like you gotta like take more ground balls, like we're going tonight, or like you didn't set that back, like we're gonna go run on the street tonight. My uncle was more on the emotional side. Well, what's going through your head? Why did you think about that like that? Like, what did you feel in that moment when you did fail? And then like that, I got like both sides of like, okay, like I'm more in touch with who I am mentally when I fail, but also like when I do fail, I know like there's the physical attribute when I was an athlete to like, okay, like I do know need to go put more work into like hitting wise, fielding wise, whatever it was. So
Mm.
there's like I think both sides to that. But dealing with failure is hard because it's such a negative thing in your life that when you start to like have bad self talk, it really can put you in like that mental like dump of like, man, I suck or like whatever, and then you just keep digging yourself into this hole, and it's hard to get back up to like even just like think like you're okay
How do you do it
to get to what
to get out of that hole?
um working on myself of understanding what I emotionally thought when I did fail. That's like what really helped me out.
What do you mean?
So when I would fail, so like I need to prove that I'm good enough to people, and especially to my dad. So my uncle really helped me out with this, which is like when I was playing and I played bad, like it was like to always try to impress my dad so I wouldn't get yelled at. No, no, oh God. Like I figured this out. No, like and it sounds really fucking weird or whatever and cringy, but like that's like why I failed a lot when I was younger. Cause like I was like not I knew if I played bad, I was getting that long car ride home of like just getting yelled at for like 90 minutes. So like I would like put pressure myself to like play better. So like me like emotionally figuring out like why I was thinking like that. So once I like could let it go and be okay with knowing that like my dad still loves me at the end of the day, he's just being hard on me because he loves me. Then like I started playing better. I don't
Mm.
know if that answered your question
Hmm.
or not.
Okay, but what about now?
Oh, now how do I deal with failure?
Yeah.
Don't fail. Kidding, 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 kidding. No, I think I just kind of do what you said, which is like I think about like what are the things that I missed that I could have done better to not fail. So for instance, if I'm trying to think of a failure right now, I'm kind of hot right now.
Uh,
I'm kind of hot right now. Let's just take I think about this with like Lucas and Johnny and all the pro guys and Pete, which is like if when Lucas was in college, especially Lucas, every year his back would blow up on him at some point during the season, and I would be like, "Fuck, dude, like that's my fault." Like so then like that's a failure on my part. So like, what did I do wrong that like I need to like work on for the next time he comes to see me or whatever it is, and then I would think about it
okay,
like
let's
that.
go. Okay, so I'm gonna push you more. I don't know if there is an example of this. Because it does get harder to fail as you get better, because
Mm,
you're always trying to get ahead of it.
mm,
Or another is like maybe you're not pushing yourself enough.
yeah.
But so Lucas is kind of external.
Mm.
Do you have a time that you remember that you failed directly?
I have to think about that one for a little longer.
As you think about it, a thing that helps me when I'm down is I go back to the things that I know work.
Mm,
So I go back to like my system, which is like, okay, well, what does work and what has worked in the past that gives me momentum to keep going. And this is where I like the waking up and working out. I can control that. And then trying to control as many things as possible. So when there's variables, I have capacity and bandwidth to deal with it.
mm,
So like my default is going back to what has worked, which is like just discipline. Okay, well I just know that if I keep continue working on this, it'll hit.
mm.
And that kind of gives me freedom. And sometimes I've thought about, should I just like sleep in because I can now? No, everything will crumble.
I thought about that
Everything
this
will
morning.
crumble. I don't have to wake up anymore. I have more time right now.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, it's part of the formula for Juan's success.
Yeah.
And there's milestones that I need to do. Podcast, the amount of time I listen. I'm trying to figure out a better balance for myself right now. Like the running has really helped. Like I either have to go to running or jujitsu to like, boom, calm myself down.
Mm.
Um, so in sharing my own lesson on failure is I just then default to I'm gonna try harder at the things that I know what to do and don't let that slip.
Mm.
And then I just add on top of it instead of
Mm.
letting failure affect me and then letting everything else crumble.
Yeah.
You
I
might not
haven't
have one.
I haven't thought of one, but what I will say is I do agree with your statement because thinking about sports and some of the guys that I do have that I've went through failure, most of what I tell them is basically what you said is like you just have to continue to keep doing what you're doing, and then try to build on that. Like you have to continue the work, you have to continue the grind, the discipline of, lifting, running, throwing, hitting, all that kind of stuff. And you have to continue that, and then at some point you just pick up little skills that you'll
Mhm.
need to make you better. But a lot of people I feel like go the other way, and then like when they do fail, they're like, oh, well, this sucks, and then they just like
To let
leave it, and
everything.
then like that, and then they like let everything go, and you're like, well, if you want to be successful, what made you successful in the first spot to get you to play college baseball is do those things again, like go back to your roots. Like one of my kids said, like I went back to my roots. Like he had a hard freshman year, or he had a hard first semester of college. And he said, fuck, like I was in a bad place mentally. And what I did was I went back to my roots. He's like, I went back to hitting and I went back to doing his routine of working out and his daily routine of
And he
baseball
was able to
stuff.
get into like rhythm
And
again.
then he got into his rhythm again. And then he started picking up little different habits that he would then include into his like daily routine.
Yeah. Well, so inside of that, and I forgot to mention this, is then you start rebuilding confidence for yourself.
Hmm.
Right? So that you feel a little bit more mastery.
Yeah.
You feel and you know you've done the work. So when the little normal moments come, you feel way better and better self-esteem about yourself.
Hmm.
And so it makes when you start to slip a little bit, a little more controllable. Because
Hmm.
the other version of it is like now you're out of control and have no control.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then so you can kind of like use that. So I guess it's almost in a different way to say it is go back to your roots, do what you know works. Uh, so that, oh damn, I lost my train of thought. Um, anyways, I forgot.
No, yeah,
Shit.
no, going back to your roots, like you said, building the confidence back up. Because once you start to build that confidence back up, all it takes is like a couple days, maybe a couple weeks. Some people take longer than others, especially with games going on. But once you find your rhythm again, then you're like, okay, now what else can I do or learn to like keep me rising to the top? Like Pete's a great example. Like Pete's a very streaky hitter, but I know like once Pete gets it back going, people are in fucking trouble. Because
So sharp.
When Pete's hot, Pete's hot. Pause. That could sound kind of weird, but when Pete's
Uh,
hot,
you
Pete
made
is
it.
hot, right? But again, like even the
Yeah,
big
I even
leaguer,
see like you go from zero clips and now there's a bunch of P clips. Pop, 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 pop.
bro. Like yeah, when Pete is hot, and no one's stopping that motherfucker. But when he's down, that's when he like has to like reconfigure like whatever he's thinking negative wise to like get himself back up to neutral, and then keep building and building that momentum.
Damn, I'm pissed. I forgot what I was gonna say. It was
It'll
good
come back
though.
to you.
I
It'll
hope
come back
so.
to you.
Um, how do you how do you deal with wins and success?
I think for me, it's just thinking I've never done enough. Like if I complete something or if I win at something, the next thought is okay. Like what else can I do though? Like what's like the next step?
Is
I've
that good?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it
I
is.
don't know. I think it's up for debate.
I think it
And then
is.
we're only speaking to our level of success, and I imagine professional is way different.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to learn to appreciate and acknowledge those wins.
Mm.
Because I think most of us just default to where I already knew I was gonna win. I determined that as I was climbing there. So when I get there, I'm like, okay, done.
Mm.
Next.
Yeah.
Um, oh, that's where I was going. Going
Rewind. We're
back,
going
go
back to it.
rewind, rewind, rewind.
Flip it,
Okay, we
flip it,
got to
flip
go
it.
back to doing what you know works so that you can start building wins again. You need
Mm,
wins again.
hmm.
So a different way to look at it
Yeah,
is like, how can I start getting wins again? Because
yeah.
this was a hard fail.
Hmm.
So where can I look to find wins again? And you
Yes.
start climbing back on in the basic stuff.
Hmm.
And then that's how you gain the confidence and momentum and flow because you're like, well, I know I can do this.
Yeah,
I know I can run. So if I
right.
got my running down or I got my hitting down, I know the base level is taken care of and I can
Yeah.
keep climbing from that. Because to your point, people go big failure and they just look for the one big win. Hold
Hmm.
on, there's little stuff along the way
Hmm.
that's gonna get you there. It's the little ones that is the like you
Yes.
get to build on and build the greatness on.
Yes.
One thing that I think a lot of athletes don't do is we don't appreciate
Mm.
major wins.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I want to talk about like the little wins first, which is like what Juan said is super important. Is like when you're down in the dumps, you're looking for like the home run to get you back up. It's not going to happen. You're so down, it's just not going to happen. That one big win is like it might spike you a little bit, but then it like you're not building momentum. It just hits you up for a little bit, and then you'll come right back down.
Yeah. And you might be at a point where it's not a true win. You might have got lucky. So your
Yes,
average,
yes,
that's like
hmm,
too far out. That's not
yeah,
your average.
no,
So you have to really be like
yeah,
in touch where your baseline winning is.
yeah, and like in baseball terms, like a small win is like if you're struggling hitting wise, and you take a freaking 10 pitch AB and you saw the ball really well and you took some good swings, that's a fucking win. You might have not got a hit, that's a result. But that's a win because you got a step closer for taking another good at bat. Then you get another one. And then you start slowly building more confidence with each at bat. Whether you got the external hit or not, internally you're like, okay, that was a good at bat, that was a good at bat, that was a good at bat. I'm getting better and better and better. And then at some point, the external hit will come. But
And you can
if
get on base.
yes, but if you look for
Home run.
the home run, if you look for the what's the word you said? I'm blanking now. The lucky part of like you might have took a really shitty AB, but you got a lucky hit. That's not success. That's not a win. You just
That's
got really lucky.
outlier
That's
data.
an outlier thing. You just got lucky. But those little wins will help you. And again, I think something that Thomas said in like I think the last podcast, I forgot what it was, but he's like, you should always try to think about something positive. Because when you start to think about something positive with whatever you do, it doesn't allow your mind to go negative. So like the example he said was like he's a catcher and he missed the ball, and when you miss the ball on the third strike, and you can run to first base, and if he beats you to that ball or that base, then he's safe. So he done fumbled the ball, it got away from him. That guy gets the first. The pitcher ends
Oh,
up
so
like
that's a big error
that's
to
a oh, it's a big
every
error. No,
catcher.
no, it's a big error, and
I don't know
ends up
baseball,
getting
bro.
so right ends up getting to first base, and then the guy strikes him out or whatever, and he goes to pitcher, he goes, "Yo, that's my fault. Like I'm fucking terrible." And he goes, "Dude, what are you talking about? Like you just got me another strikeout." And in that moment, he's like, "I did." And he's like, instead of thinking, "Fuck, I suck, I suck, I suck," he's like, "Oh, like it's okay. Like move on.
Yeah, you
Like
gotta look.
you're
You find
thinking
the next
you're
win.
thinking positive now, right?" I forgot your actual question. The or the other one you're talking about building
The wins.
the wins. Yeah,
Oh,
building.
okay. Here's
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I had one point. The outlier. You need to know how you got to that big win
Mm,
because the outlier data is so random. You don't know how you get there. So how would you get there again?
yeah.
So a better way is you accomplish what you mapped out.
Hmm. Yes. No, no,
Because
100%.
otherwise you're like, how are you going to do that again?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get lucky. You were prepared and the dumbass gave you a ball right down the middle and you're like, I got this, son.
Yeah.
You seen it as soon as it left his hand. You're like,
Yeah.
out.
And it's like going back to
The
your
Dodgers play on Friday.
roots,
What's up?
the process of it, right? Which is
Yes.
like you hear that word like stick to the process, stick to the process, and it sounds like a cliche, and everyone fucking hates using that term. But like whether you're going good or bad, that's your route, your process. Whatever your routine is, hitting wise, fielding, throwing, running, whatever it is, if you just stick to the process and do that, it'll keep you in a good it'll keep you in a good mental place for you to stay even keeled through those ups and downs. But the minute you forget about that process, now you're lost, like you said. When you get success, you're like, well, I don't know what I did. I'm not doing anything. But like when you are struggling and you go back to your process, then it can help build you back up from those failures.
How do you see your athletes that are doing very well take on all the attention and praise that they receive? Because we see athletes, it gets to their head. We see people
Hmm.
spiral out of control.
Yeah.
Do you know or see what methods they use to stay grounded?
I think it's the mentality, and it's kind of like what I said earlier when we before we went back, which is like, it's kind of how I think, which is like, what is next? Like what more can I do? And like they never like really, they don't sit with it too long. That success moment in their life, they don't sit with it too long because like Lucas is always throwing well, and I'll text him every week, and we'll talk about it and how he threw. But he's always like texting me like, "Oh, like I can do better at this, or I can do better at that, or whatever." And like that's how he handles success, knowing that like he can't get too high. Because I think when you have really high success, it's really easy for you to be like, I'm chilling,
And you snap
and
you
you
step out of the
stop, you
process.
step out of the process, and that's when you start playing bad, 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 and then you can't get it back. Now, most of the kids, I
And
think,
at that level, sometimes that's your window,
yeah,
and then you're out.
and then you're done. Exactly. So I think he's one of the ones where he's dealing with success pretty well, and he'll probably even tell you like, "Well, Kyle, like it's freaking low A baseball. Like I should be doing this, but like it's still hard, regardless of whatever level he's at. It's still hard for him, and he's having success. But I think a lot of people, when they get to that success, they start to raise their bar on what they think they should be playing like.
Oh,
So, and they don't deal with it well. So this is like kind of like what I wanted to talk about with like how you deal with success. I think it's at least for the kids that I have, and I'm not trying to boast my kids up, but I have a lot of good freaking players out
hmm.
there, and it's hard for them to keep that momentum because they get to that success point and they think that they can hold that success at the peak. Like when people are hot, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're on a
Hmm.
hitting streak, you're hitting like 400, 450, you have a bunch of strikeouts in the game, you're freaking the top dog, everyone's fucking talking about you, tweeting about you, all the pro scouts are coming out, da, 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 da. Like you're at the peak and you feel like you have to do more to stay at that level. And then they try to get out of their comforts or out of their playing zone and they try to do more and that's what fucks them up and then they go down. Does that make sense?
What do they try to do more?
So an example, and I actually talked about this with this player, Jack Gervich, who was at USD, batting average wise. So like 300 is like you're legit.
Hmm.
If you hit below 300, you're like okay. If you hit above 300, legit. If you're hitting 400, you're fucking crazy. This dude was hitting 400 for half of the year, and all the scouts were starting to come out. People started talking about him a little bit more. He got invited to the Cape Cod League, which is a silver ball league you have to get invited to, and only like high level D1 athletes go. Like all the really good schools go to that league. And at some point, he started to slowly dip three, 380, 360, 340. End of the year, like 330, 320. Still very good. But I talked to him after, and I was like, "So, what do you think it is?" Because I knew exactly what it was. He's like, I don't know. Like I was doing my process. I'm hitting every day. I like nothing changed. I just don't know what happened. I was like, you put too much pressure on yourself. You were trying to play at that 400 level when like really like it's not realistic to hit 400. It's really not. There might have been 10 players in all of college baseball at the D1 level that hit 400. 10 out of a million. Do the math. It's not realistic. So
What's the
when
math?
point what?
Bitch.
But when he was going hot, he started to like play above his level. When in reality, all he had
Oh,
to do was just keep
you
doing the
saying he
same
was
thing.
doing more in game,
Yeah, he was trying to do too much.
in game. I'm a
Yeah,
win this game
yeah, he
versus
was.
like I'm just gonna be me in this play.
Yes, exactly.
Got
And
it.
there was a point where he was like, dude, low key during the season, like, fuck, I could hit 500. There's no one in baseball that's ever hit 500. Nobody in the history of freaking baseball, unless you're playing like Little League or some shit. But like D1, like Top hitters might hit like 420, 430, and that's a wild number. 500 is no one's ever
Do
done that.
you know who was around him?
Uh, no.
Because that's what I think about immediately. When you're
Mm,
hot, this is what I think we see ultra successful people, they keep a tight circle.
mm,
And a tight circle that gives you real feedback.
yeah.
Do you have any idea who was around you? And I imagine
Uh,
like you're at those levels and you're at those pro levels, you gotta have a circle
yeah.
that is tight knit,
Mm,
that doesn't praise you and just
yeah.
humbles you, gives you appropriate feedback.
Yeah.
And probably a handful of people, not just one person,
Mm,
that's looking out for you.
yeah.
Like I feel like it kind of has to happen.
No, 100%. And I think that I don't think for at least for him in his situation, I understand what you're talking about, but like his situation, like it's not a circle thing. It's just like he mentally fucked himself up.
Hmm.
Like he was trying to play better than he was, and he was trying to do too much. Where it's like,
Hmm.
bro, like you
Just do you.
just do you.
You regular
Like
you.
you got there from doing what you were already doing.
Yeah.
You don't have to try to do more. You're already at that level. But I feel like when people start to rise like that and they get that hype, whether it's like an external like, man, people are looking at me now, or an internal thing with my kid of like, oh, like I gotta keep it, I gotta stay at this level. That's not realistic. Um, they start to like mentally fuck themselves up, and that's when they get a little tighter in the box. They get a little tighter during their pitching mechanics, and then they start playing worse. And then once they start to play a little worse, they think it's like a big drop off, and then like then starts like the train downhill.
Yeah.
So, but I think the small circle thing is an important thing because Lucas has a very small circle. Lucas has three or four dudes that he trusts that will, like you said, keep it real with him. They're not gonna hype him up at all. All right, well that's cool, dog. Good for you. Whatever. Like no, but like no, like if you've like
Yeah, I
hung
think
out
there's
with those
a plus
kids,
and minus. Like, hey,
yeah.
that was nice.
No, no, yeah. Like
Mm,
they'll they'll celebrate it like within that like little second,
yeah,
and then like they just let it go. And I think that's something
yeah.
to your point of like celebrating the wins. Don't celebrate it too much though, because if you live in that celebration mode and you stop the work ethic,
Crash.
crash, big crash, huge crash. And something that Thomas also said, which is like every time he's a catcher at UCI, one of my seniors, and he won big. He's won Big West Player of the Week twice. He said, he goes, every time I win this freaking award, I go on an 0 for 30 slump.
After he's like, I don't want even want it.
Yeah, he's like, don't
Don't
even give
give
me
me
this
it,
award
bro.
anymore,
Shut the fuck up. Leave me
right?
alone. I think here's an interesting thought that came to mind. A possibly a good way to deal with success is to analyze it and interpret what you did to get there.
Mm,
Deal with success by appreciating the process of it
yeah,
and then repeat it
I like that.
and then don't deviate.
Yeah, celebrate.
Make little baby adjustments,
Mhm.
but celebrate the process
Yeah,
that got you
the
there.
process exactly. Don't celebrate the
The
external
hype.
bullshit that you
Yeah.
get. You can never don't live on the hype train because if you live on the hype train, it'll run, and sometimes it runs a lot until it doesn't. Everyone's gonna hit the down train at some point. So like, don't live on the hype train because like once you live in that hype, you start to think of yourself as God. No one's fucking God, dude.
And hopefully the Celtics can live on this hype train.
No, we don't want the Celtics. We live in LA. The Lakers and the Celtics hate each other, dog.
I know. I hope they live up to the hype train and
Oh,
start
oh,
crashing.
oh. You know who's on the hype train that is now falling? Luka Doncic and
Oh.
Edwards. Look, I'm telling you, living on the hype train, bro. They didn't can't. They're not great.
Well,
They're they're
that's why
very
they
good.
always talk about the guys that have been in the finals before. They
Yeah,
have that mental capacity. Like,
yeah,
oh, there's no hype right now. I don't care if
mhm,
we won the last game.
yeah.
It's the
Well,
next game.
that's why maybe you might have to live on the hype train to then learn not to live on the hype train. Oh,
Oh,
bar. What if you have to live on the hype train to understand that you should not live on the hype train? Because, right, through failure,
oh
you
yeah.
learn.
And even
Oh
better,
my
and
lord.
even better,
Bruh.
you're gonna keep on the hype train until you learn to not be on the hype train.
Yes.
You're not like us.
I'm telling you, bro, that was good. But yeah, living on the bro, you honestly might have to live on the hype train to then understand that you can't live on the hype train anymore. And that might be what happens with high school to college.
Well, hold on.
Those
Sarah's gonna love this. It's like when you keep reoccurring lessons in your life, they're gonna keep reoccurring until you figure out that this is a lesson that the universe is giving you.
Yep. Damn. That's another bar, dude. 2 bars in like the last minute.
And it's only been 38 minutes.
Clipped it, bro. Um, yeah, I think if you can learn from that experience of how to deal with success and how to properly deal with it,
You can get
then
more success.
that's when you continue to keep slowly rising.
It's like this.
Yes. You'll always have a failure. You will always slow. Ooh. But you'll always, yo. This is a
Guys
family
up
show,
here, bro.
family show, bro. No, but yeah, if you can understand not to live on the hype train, or once you're on the hype train and you do crash, to learn from that failure, that's when, like Juan just did, you start to slowly climb. There's always a dip though. There's As an athlete, you'll always deal with some kind of small failure, but you're trying to make it a small failure and then you bump again. Small failure, you bump again. But you just keep rising instead of failure. Fuck, now you're screwed. Now you're all the way down there. Now it's going to take a long time to figure out how to get back up to the top.
Or you might be out.
Or you might be out. Or it might be too late. But I think if you can't understand how to do this part that we just talked about, at some point your career will be cut shorter than it actually could have been. Because I got asked on Logan's podcast when my kids was like, "Hey, like, what is the next jump from college to pro?" And I was like, "It's how you deal with failure and the mental part of the game. Because everyone's good in college, but what's going to separate you is how you deal with the failure and the success that will help you stay consistent and keep rising to then go pro, to get to where Pete's at, where Lucas, Johnny, Drew, Carter, all those guys are at. Because if you can't do that, then at some point you'll just plateau or you'll just go down, and then in 4 years you're done.
Gone.
And then you're not going pro.
Okay. That is all.
Later.